The Altmer are the golden elves, tall, elegant, and steeped in magic. Their home, Somerset, is a place of marble towers, silver spires, and gardens that shimmer under sun and star. Everything about their culture feels refined and precise. Their skin is pale, their speech musical, their walk measured. Altmer craft art and architecture that seems impossible and write poetry about the stars and gods. Their magic is powerful. Many of them enter mage colleges and master spells that other races can only dream of. They speak of themselves as closest to the divine, closer to the Aedra in both ancestry and ambition, but all this beauty breeds suspicion. Other races see them not as noble, but as cold, too perfect to trust. There's something in their silence that feels like judgment. They carry themselves like kings, even if they claim no crown. Their streets are clean, their laws are strict. Outsiders feel watched, measured. Every action is weighed. It isn't just other races who see it. Even humans who travel there feel the chill of precision, as if they're living in a mirror that shows every flaw. Here's the reality in the wider world. People don't like it when someone seems better than them. They don't like being reminded of their own rough edges. An Altmer walks into a tavern and the door hushes. They ask a polite question about the weather, but the accent sounds like a lesson. They smile, but the smile feels planned. They tip too well or too little. Villagers watch them leave, wondering if they rented the place to spy. The Altmer don't seek hate, but they don't hide from it either. They build institutions that train mage apprentices for decades. They fund scholars who translate ancient texts. They protect art and music like life depends on it, because to them it does. They believe they have a duty to hold tradition. That makes them distant. That makes them cold. It turns politics into chess, diplomacy into negotiation of superiority. A Breton king might welcome an alliance, but he'll never mistake an Altmer scholar for one of his own. There's a thought that runs through Skyrim and Hammerfell. Altmer don't trust men. Maybe they never did. Maybe it's not personal. Maybe they just think they're better suited to rule, to guide, to shape reality. They're not wrong in a sense. Their lifespan is longer, their history is deeper, their magic is stronger. But when you look powerful and act like you own everything, people start asking why you'd ever want anything else. And that's the question at the heart of who the Altmer are. A mystery wrapped in beauty and built on centuries of thought. They're not outright evil. They're not monsters or tyrants by nature. But they stand apart. And when someone stands apart in full armor of gold and intellect, they earn mistrust just by being who they are. So, is the hate fair or is it earned? That depends on who is asking. If perfection frightens you, the Altmer are dangerous. If you value order over chaos, you respect them. But if you're a simple farmer or butcher, trying to live without worry, they may as well be ghosts you can't reach, because in their world, you can't. The Altmer trace their bloodlines directly to the Altmer, the first folk of Nirn. The Altmer were ancient beings who lived during the Dawn era, crafted magic by studying the world. They shaped the world through spell and song. Over time, most of them changed or vanished. But the Altmer stayed and claimed the spark that made the Altmer divine. That claim is at the heart of everything they do. It's not just a story. It's the foundation of their schools, their government, their families. From a young age, an Altmer is taught that their blood is sacred, that mixing with other races dilutes what makes them special, that a family with mortal or lesser blood is one with a weakness hiding beneath the surface. You can hear it in Somerset. Families discuss marriages in terms of bloodlines. Natural-born children are praised. Outsiders are watched. This idea shapes politics. When the Altmer form alliances or make treaties, purity matters. A union with a human noble is possible only if the Altmer side gains something, but the Altmeri side also gains a threat to their heritage. That tension shows up in the Talmor, the ruling body in Somerset and Valenwood. They enforce laws that push out impure children and exiles from their land. They train their mages to root out foreign influence. They teach that maintaining pure Altmeri blood is the same as preserving history itself. At mage colleges, lessons begin early. Students learn to trace their ancestry alongside their spells. Professors use genealogy to explain magical strength. When teaching a spell, they point to famous Altmer who mastered it. They use their own line as proof that blood matters. A pure bloodline is stronger in body, mind, and magic. In families, a child born mixed race is a problem. Families divide. Some choose exile for the mother or the child. Others cover up the heritage, teach the child in secret, send them away for study. When impurities show in magic, spells failing, enchantments cracking, they blame blood. The idea spreads that someone without pure blood brings weakness into the line. It becomes a slow poison beneath every glass tower, every sermon, every law, and the consequences spread into everyday life. A craftsman with foreign heritage can be passed over. A guard might be questioned about blood if they fail a test. A leader who marries outside Altmer is seen as traitorous. This isn't just pride, it's fear. They fear degeneration. They believe that every drop of lesser blood removes them further from the Altmer they claim to be. They see other elves, Bosmer, woodland hunters, tied to the wild, Dunmer, fire, blooded and exiled, as half-fallen descendants. Bretons, part human and part elf, are human enough to be mortal, elf enough to be caught between worlds. The Altmer see the Dunmer as once having great power, but now living in shadow and ash. They see the Bosmer as emotional, unpredictable, tied too close to animals and instinct. They see the Bretons as a mockery of elf blood, a symbol of what happens when you mix with men. This belief changes how Altmer behave outside Somerset. Envoys speak down to their hosts. Scholars translate history to prove purity matters. Leaders remind others of Altmer rights based on heritage. It's not just politics, it's part of who they are. But that belief isolates them. It makes them fearful of change. It creates enemies. It pushes other races to distrust them. And it shapes every part of their world: art, music, marriage, magic. But even as they build towers and write their histories, there's a shadow beneath it all. Magic can't stop aging. Golden skin can't stop pride from blinding you. Bloodlines can't guarantee purity. And the deeper their belief goes, the harder it becomes to stop what comes next: dissent, scandal, or change. They build their world on the claim to Altmer heritage, and what they do to preserve it shows why many see them as cruel or distant. At the end of the day, they didn't just think they're better, they acted on it. And in Skyrim, or Hammerfell, or Cyrodiil, people remember when you act like you're above them. The Thalmor stand at the center of modern Altmeri power. They control the Altmeri dominion and speak for Somerset, Valenwood, and elsewhere. Somerset-born, they believe they inherited the Altmer's legacy and are tasked with restoring its place atop Tamriel. Their reach extends into every corner of the Dominion's influence, using law and fear instead of open war. Their greatest act was erasing Talos. He's sacred to Nords, symbol of unity, hero, and god. But in Somerset, Talos is a blight, mortal elevation that weakened the divine order. The Thalmor banned his worship, raided temples in Skyrim, and forced priests underground. They didn't need armies for that. They used agents, threats, and legal pressure. That ban is the wound that still bleeds trust between Altmer and Nord. Then there was the Great War. When the Dominion marched into Cyrodiil, they didn't smash gates with siege engines. They took towns with knights and court envoys, presenting treaties and ultimatums. The White Gold Concordat left the Empire humiliated. Talos worship was outlawed, and the Thalmor gained assets, magical secrets, and political power. To many, that wasn't victory. It was a declaration that Altmer dominance didn't rely on conquest, it thrived on control. Outside Somerset, Dominion rule is polished but firm. Bosmer and Khajiit live under Altmer oversight. In Valenwood and elsewhere, Thalmor envoys sit in councils and demand tribute and loyalty. Bosmer rangers must approve reports through Thalmor magistrates. Khajiit merchants pay fees, and their moonsugar trades are watched. The Altmer claim protection, but the Bosmer and Khajiit often feel like renters in their own lands, allowed to live so long as no culture or bloodline looks too strong. In Skyrim, the Thalmor leave signs. You'll see black dragons soaring behind the suns, black-shirted agents traveling the roads. They stop travelers, ask questions, search coaches. Guard posts stand silent when they pass. They can arrest worshippers, seize priests, and burn shrines with no court trial. A rumor about Thalmor interest is enough to ruin a Nord's life. Fear doesn't stop at castles or walls. It seeps into every tavern and every hearth. People hear whispers, "Watch your speech. Don't mock authority." That silence is the true measure of Thalmor power. Other races see it clearly. Nords see the Dominion as occupiers, unlike any army they faced before. Bretons consider the Thalmor spies and puppet Ugmasters who destroyed the Empire's pride. Imperials know the Dominion reshaped politics with paperwork and magic. The more subtle the power, the deeper the resentment. Khajiit and Bosmer whisper of broken promises. They were told they'd remain free. Instead, they were watched. Even within Somerset, the thrum of dissent hums low. Scholars and artists murmur that the Thalmor misuse Altmeri ideals. Their critics say the Dominion abandoned art for control, that they replaced open study with surveillance. Those voices are rare and quiet. Dominion watchers don't tolerate too much curiosity. They see dissent as weakness, legacy as threat. Some dissidents vanish, others are exiled, their manuscripts destroyed. That's how fear grows strong. The Thalmor are masters of that. They rewrote treaties, sculpted laws to reflect Altmeri worldview, one where the Altmer are exalted and others diminished. They've made race, religion, and law into weapons. And yet, their rule is mostly unseen. There are no marching legions. There is no city under siege. Instead, there's permission granted or withdrawn, approved or hidden. Their power is invisible, but absolute. That is why so many distrust them more than armies. Somerset looks bright. Thalmor spellcasters weave light and music. But beneath it lies control wrapped in velvet, injustice wrapped in law. The Dominion governs not by might, but by authority, and fear that steps from shadow. When you speak of Altmer, you speak of them now. Because Thalmor robes are more than cloth, they are the mask of power, and their untouched smiles hide chains. Nords despise the Thalmor more than any other race. In Skyrim, Talos isn't just worship, it's identity. Removing his name from the pantheon built the pride of Skyrim, the unity of its clans, and the faith of its people. And the Thalmor took that away. They didn't crush it with armies. They banned it through law. They sent agents to temples, shut them down, and burned relics. Towns grew silent, priests vanished, families whispered. Skyrim lost something vital, and all because of laws made in Somerset. That's why most Nords see every Altmer as an enemy, every black-robed figure on the road as a threat, and every whisper of Talos as a spark that could ignite rebellion. To Bretons, the Thalmor are ancient rivals. Breton lords still remember Somerset invasions of High Rock centuries ago. They remember the arrogance of Altmeri voices in the courts, the attempts to place Somerset culture over Breton tradition. Even now, the Thalmor make deals with Breton factions, fund some scholars, favor Altmer architecture. All it does is remind Bretons of lost independence and old wounds. To them, Thalmor diplomacy is just a new wave of control, dressed in silk and scrolls. Imperials have a deep grudge too. The Great War ended with the White Gold Concordat, a treaty imposed by the Dominion, signed under duress. The White Gold Tower in Cyrodiil's heart once stood for unity. Now it symbolizes defeat. Imperials see the Thalmor as architects of that shame. They broke the empire without laying siege. They shattered its spirit, then walked away with gold and laws. And even when the empire claims peace, whispers of resistance grow in every tavern. To the Dunmer, the Thalmor are arrogant descendants. The Dunmer survived genocide, exile, betrayal, and still they rebuilt. They buried their ancestors, rebuilt from ash, and lived under harsh gods and harsher rulers. They have no patience for pride born of ivory towers. They see Altmer disdain for mixed blood and praise of purity as blind. They see Talmor rule as naive and cruel, built on false superiority. Even distant from Somerset, they understand that arrogance always falls. But the Altmer don't care. They see Nords as brutes, Bretons as children playing at power, Imperials as weak imitators, and Dunmer as burned but bitter. The hate confirms their belief that other races are lesser, that Altmer must lead, that it's up to them to show the world how to rise above. To them, hate isn't something to fear, it's proof. Proof they do more than just rule. They guide, they educate, they judge and expect obedience. Some viewers might ask, is this too harsh? But it's what in-game lore tells us. From Skyrim's guards refusing to say Talos, to Breton nobles missing Thalmor visits, to Imperial spies watching black-witted diplomats, to Dunmer voices in Telvanni towers muttering about Altmeri arrogance, the evidence is there. Hatred isn't mythical, it's tangible. It shapes alliances, rebellions, and even everyday life. Even some poor farmers in Riften speak quietly about how the Thalmor agents questioned them about strangers and gods. That's power, that's control, that's fear. That's why this part matters. Because it shows that the Thalmor's influence isn't just a political footnote, it's personal. It touches faith, memory, pride, and home. And when everyone hates someone for reasons you created, that hatred becomes part of the legacy you leave behind. Call it earned, call it fair revenge, but don't call it empty. It's real. And it's there every time someone sees those black robes on the road and decides to walk the other way. The Altmer have a side that few talk about openly. Their proud image of magic, wisdom, and culture hides moments of cold cruelty and selfishness. When the Ayleids faced their rebellion, the Altmer did nothing to help. The Ayleids were once great rulers in Cyrodiil, but as humans rose up, the elves stayed out of the fight. They closed their gates and watched others fall. This silence wasn't an accident. It was a choice. When the snow elves were driven underground by human settlers and their armies, the Altmer stayed in Somerset, untouched and distant. They watched their kin become refugees and enemies. Instead of helping, they focused on their own survival and power. The Chimer, who later became the Dunmer, also suffered from this coldness. The Altmer refused to stand with them when they faced persecution and exile. While others struggled and fought, the Altmer held their borders and stayed pure. This attitude shaped much of Altmer history and culture. They believe in blood, purity, and strength, and weakness is not tolerated. This meant closing doors and hearts to others, even kin. The Altmer value knowledge and magic above all. Like the Dwemer before them, some of their scholars and mages push boundaries far beyond safe limits. The Dwemer vanished because their thirst for knowledge led to disaster, yet the Altmer continued to chase power in hidden towers and arcane labs. They meddle in things mortals and gods were not meant to touch. Their ambition is clear: to rewrite history, erase gods like Talos, and control Tamriel through magic and law. The Thalmor are the political face of this ambition. They enforce strict laws, spy on citizens, and punish those who worship Talos. Their rule over Valenwood and elsewhere shows their cold dominance. The Khajiit in Bosmer live more like tenants under their rule than equal allies. The Thalmor use fear, law, and politics instead of armies to keep control. This causes deep resentment and hatred among many races. But the darker parts of Altmer history are not just about politics or wars. It's about choices that cost lives and trust. The Altmer abandoned their kin in times of need, refusing to help or protect others. Their pride and belief in their own superiority turned them inward, making them isolated and feared. This is why many races view the Altmer with suspicion and dislike. It's not just because they are skilled with magic or have long lives. It's because of this history of coldness, ambition, and betrayal. The Altmer build great towers and keep their culture clean and strict. But beneath that surface, there is a legacy of turning away from others and chasing power at any cost. This legacy shapes how the Altmer see themselves and how others see them. They are not simply victims of hate, they are also the cause. Their desire to stay pure, strong, and in control has made them enemies and isolated them from much of Tamriel. Even within their own ranks, there is debate. Some Altmer dream of a future where their wisdom leads all races to peace and order. Others warn that such dreams risk repeating the mistakes of the past, leading to ruin and rebellion. The truth is that the Altmer live with this tension every day. Their culture and history are full of pride and pain, strength and coldness. This makes them one of the most complex races in Tamriel. They are respected and feared, admired and hated. Their story is a warning about power and isolation, ambition and betrayal. It's a reminder that history is never simple, and every people has shadows as well as light. The Altmer carry their past with them, shaping their future and the fate of all Tamriel. This is the story no one likes to tell, but everyone needs to know. The Altmer of Somerset live under a heavy weight. Their obsession with perfection shapes everything in their lives. From birth, being anything less than flawless can be a silent death sentence. Families guard their bloodlines fiercely, hiding any hint of impurity as if it were a shameful secret. This is not just about appearances or status. It's about survival in a society where magic defines worth and power. If you cannot cast spells, you are considered weak, useless, and sometimes even a disgrace. The pressure to excel in magic is crushing. Children grow up knowing failure means exile or worse. Even those who question the system or show signs of rebellion face harsh consequences. The Altmer do not tolerate weakness or dissent. Their society is like a mirror, reflecting only the brightest light, but this brilliance comes from cutting away everything else. Families turn on each other, and trust is rare. Ambition drives many to betray relatives or hide dark secrets just to keep their place among the golden elite. This obsession with purity and strength does not build wisdom or compassion. Instead, it breeds cruelty and fear. People live in constant tension, watching their backs and guarding their reputations. Altmer culture is filled with rituals and strict rules designed to maintain this perfect image. Education is rigid, focusing on magical skill and history that glorifies their race and denigrates others. The pressure to conform is intense, and even small mistakes can be punished severely. Rebels or those who challenge authority risk exile to harsh, distant places or complete erasure from records and memory. This makes Altmer society fragile beneath its proud surface. It is a system built on fear, control, and endless self-policing. This creates a cycle where the strong get stronger by breaking down the weak. Many Altmer live lonely lives, despite the wealth and power around them. Relationships are often political or transactional. Love and friendship must survive in secret or risk becoming weapons. This harsh environment shapes the Altmer into a race both magnificent and tragic. Their perfection is a mask for deep insecurities and scars. The cost of staying golden is high and often paid in lost lives and broken spirits. It is said that the Altmer are the most magical race in Tamriel, but this magic often isolates them as much as it empowers them. They watch others from tall towers, proud but distant, admired and feared but rarely truly understood. Their obsession with perfection keeps them apart and often at odds with the rest of the world. Even within Somerset, whispers of change and unrest stir beneath the surface, but the old ways hold tight. The Altmer story is a powerful reminder of what happens when a society values image over humanity, power over kindness. It is a tale of shining brilliance, shadowed by cold cruelty, a people caught between greatness and ruin. This is who the Altmer are, for better or worse, and their obsession with perfection shapes not just their future, but the fate of all Tamriel. Not all Altmer fit the image painted by the Thalmor or the Aldmeri Dominion. While the Thalmor rule Somerset and lead the Dominion's agenda with an iron fist, many Altmer reject their harsh ideology and politics. Some have joined the Mages Guild, dedicating themselves to the study of magic for knowledge rather than power or control. Others serve in the Blades, working as spies and protectors of the Empire, often at great personal risk. These Altmer do not see themselves as rulers or masters of others. Many more have left Somerset altogether, seeking lives far from the cold politics of their homeland. These exiles live scattered across Tamriel, trying to escape the expectations and restrictions of their birth. Some actively oppose the Thalmor from within, quietly undermining their plans, or working to protect those targeted by their policies. Their voices are small compared to the powerful leaders of Somerset, who speak loudly for all Altmer. Outside their homeland, most people do not stop to ask if every Altmer supports the Thalmor. To the outside world, golden robes and harsh words mean one thing: power and control. The actions of the Dominion shape how all Altmer are viewed, and those who disagree struggle to be heard. This creates tension within Altmer society itself. Some resent the Thalmor's grip on power, while others believe their rule is necessary to preserve Altmer culture and influence. This split is often quiet but runs deep. Refugees who fled Somerset bring stories of life under the Thalmor's watchful eyes, of fear and suppression alongside wealth and magic. These stories contrast sharply with the proud image the Dominion tries to maintain. Even among those who support the Thalmor, there are doubts about how far their ambitions should go or what price the Altmer might pay for dominance. Outside of Somerset, Altmer are often seen as one group united under the Dominion, but this hides the reality of diverse beliefs and struggles. Many want peace and coexistence rather than endless conflict and control. Their presence in guilds, the Blades, or as refugees, shows that Altmer life is not just about power and politics. It is about survival, identity, and hope in a complex world. The story of the Altmer is not one of simple villainy or heroism, but of a proud people caught between their ancient legacy and the harsh demands of their time. This division within their race shapes how they interact with others and how others see them. The Thalmor may speak for the Altmer publicly, but behind closed doors, many Altmer dream of a different future, one where their race can thrive without crushing others beneath their rule. This quiet resistance and diversity of thought are often overlooked, but they are real and growing. The Altmer story continues to unfold, shaped by those who wear golden robes and those who choose to walk away. The fate of their race is not sealed by the Thalmor alone. It belongs to all who call Somerset home and to those who have left it behind. The Altmer of Somerset live under heavy pressure to be perfect. In their eyes, flaws are weaknesses that could bring shame or worse. From birth, families watch for any sign of impurity. Those born with disabilities or even small mistakes in magic are often hidden away or quietly removed from public life. This is not just a harsh rumor. Many stories from Somerset speak of entire bloodlines fading from history because they did not meet the strict standards. In Altmer society, magic is everything. If you cannot cast spells well or control your power, you are little more than a burden. This means children are trained from an early age, expected to master magic to prove their worth. Schools and academies focus on perfecting skills and maintaining a pure bloodline. The strongest magic users gain the highest status, while those who struggle face exile or disgrace. This pressure does not build kindness or wisdom. Instead, it creates a culture where cruelty hides behind polite manners. Families compete to have the purest lines and most powerful mages. Weakness is not accepted or forgiven. This obsession with perfection means even small mistakes can bring harsh punishment. Some Altmer who do not fit the mold are forced to leave Somerset, becoming exiles with little chance of return. Others try to hide their flaws, living in fear of discovery. Even those born into privilege are not safe if they fail to meet expectations. This constant pressure eats at the soul of many Altmer. Some become cold and distant, valuing power above all else. Others rebel, secretly or openly, risking exile or worse to reject their society's cruel rules. But rebellion is dangerous. The Thalmor and other powerful groups watch closely for dissent and punish harshly. Altmer society is built on rules that protect the strong and punish the weak, all in the name of staying golden. This means families sometimes turn on their own to protect their standing. There are stories of children hidden away in secret, families denying their existence to avoid scandal. Magic is taught not only to defend, but to control and eliminate threats. Some scholars and mages take this further, using forbidden spells or dangerous rituals to ensure their line remains strong. This drive for control has led to dark secrets in Somerset, including experiments and hidden crimes, but most Altmer accept these costs as necessary to keep their culture alive. Outside Somerset, others see this obsession as cruelty or arrogance. Some call the Altmer cold and heartless, blaming their strict rules for the hatred they face. But inside Somerset, many believe it is the only way to survive in a world that changes too fast and punishes weakness. Their perfection is both their pride and their prison. This story of obsession with perfection is part of the larger Altmer tale. It explains much about their behavior, their politics, and why many fear them. It shows why so many outsiders mistrust the Altmer, while also revealing the cost they pay to stay golden. It is a story of a race caught between old glory and harsh realities, between dreams of greatness and the harshness of their own rules. The future of the Altmer depends on whether they can find balance or if their obsession will break them from within.